What happens when a political movement eats itself alive? What happens when the people who built the entire apparatus around a leader suddenly realize that leader is going to destroy everything they've fought for? We're watching that happen right now in real time, and it's unfolding on live television with a cast of characters who are trapped between their loyalty to Trump and the basic survival instinct telling them to run. This isn't about Democrats or the media or some grand conspiracy. It's about Donald Trump's own party, his own network allies, and his own strategists watching him drive straight off a cliff and being powerless to stop him.
46% of Americans say U.S. costs of living are the worst they can remember. 37% of Trump voters agree with that, although that means that 63% of Trump voters do not. 46% of Americans blame Trump for the affordability crisis compared to just 29% who point to Biden. The explanation from the Trump administration is not landing. And for Gen Z, the outlook is even bleaker. A majority, 57%, say the country is headed in the wrong direction. Inflation tops their list of concerns. 43% say they're barely getting by or struggling.
On November 4th, Americans voted, not in a presidential election, but in something more revealing. Off-year elections across multiple states, and Democrats swept them. They won in Tennessee, they won in New Jersey, they won in Virginia, they won in New York City, and in every single place where they won, the message was identical. The campaign was simple. The winning formula was so obvious it would seem impossible to miss. Affordability is a crisis, and I will fix it. In New York City, a 34-year-old Democratic Socialist state assemblyman named Zohran Mamdani was polling near the bottom of the race for mayor in January. He was unknown. He trailed the establishment consensus by double digits. Nobody thought he had a chance. But Mamdani understood something that Trump apparently never learned. Voters don't want you to lie to them about their problems. They want you to acknowledge their pain and promise to solve it.
Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty. On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City.
Mamdani's entire campaign was built on 3 words. Things cost too much. He promised to freeze rent. He promised free buses. He promised to open city-run grocery stores in every borough. He raised taxes on the wealthy to pay for it. He won with 50% of the vote. He won the youth vote by 75%. He won the Latino vote. He won the black vote. And Trump noticed. Here's where the story turns darker, because Trump actually met with Mamdani after the election. And in that meeting, something strange happened. Trump seemed to understand the problem for exactly 5 minutes. He called himself the affordability president. He praised some of Mamdani's ideas. He appeared to get it.
We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president, I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to.
But the moment the cameras turned off and the photo op ended, something flipped. Trump went back into his bunker with his advisors. He was surrounded by people telling him that the problem wasn't real, that affordability was just a word Democrats were using, that if he could just message it correctly, people would stop complaining about being broke. And on December 2nd, Trump walked into the cabinet room with the cameras rolling and he said the quiet part out loud. He told the American people that affordability is a con job, a Democratic con, a scam. It's fake. It means nothing. Nobody cares about it.
But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciate it.
This is where we need to understand what was happening in the room at that moment, because sitting in that cabinet meeting were people watching their political futures collapse on live television. Laura Ingraham was not in the room, but she was watching, and she absolutely knew what Trump had just done. He had just handed the Democrats the 2026 midterms on a silver platter. The day before, Ingraham had warned on her show that the midterms right now look ugly for Republicans. She said it matter-of-factly, with the kind of authority that comes from polling and data and legitimate concern. She wasn't being an alarmist. She was being honest. She said, unless Republicans get serious, we're going to lose.
One thing that we should also see, Mark is right, the midterms right now look ugly unless the Republicans really get serious.
But Trump had just made her warning look like an understatement. Here's the thing about Fox News hosts who depend on Trump's political power. They're not ideological in the way you might think. They don't care about conservative principles or limited government or any of that. What they care about is winning. They care about power. They care about staying on the air and staying relevant. And they understand from years of watching Trump that when he decides something is true, you either fall in line or you become the enemy. Except this time, falling in line meant accepting electoral disaster. A few days before the cabinet meeting, Ingram had actually interviewed Trump directly, and she tried to warn him. She brought specific data. She brought specific products, eggs, gas, Thanksgiving dinner. Those had come down, she acknowledged. But beef, coffee, auto repairs, those were still expensive. Voters were still struggling. This was real. Trump's response was to literally try to silence her. As she was listing the products that had gotten more expensive, Trump made a noise, a physical gesture, trying to shut her down, trying to keep her from saying the words out loud.
Is price is affordability. That's the new word, affordability. It's much less expensive under Trump. And I haven't been here long. 9 months is not a long time. But look at what I've done to energy. Look at the price of gasoline. Going from $4.50 to $2.50 or $2.70, it's going to be $2 gasoline.
People want affordable.
Well, the economy is my thing, and we have the greatest economy in history.
Are Republicans not selling it enough?
Yes, the Republicans don't talk about it.
Yeah, so they need to do a better job on Capitol Hill of
the Democrats give false talk, and the Republicans, and I say it all the time, Republicans have to talk about the fact that prices are down. The Walmart thing is very important.
Think about that moment. A Fox News host who built her entire career defending Trump, who has gone to bat for him repeatedly, was trying to warn him. And his response was to treat her like a child who wasn't allowed to speak, to physically try to stop her from saying something he didn't want to hear. This is when the panic really started, because after that interview, other Fox hosts realized what was happening. They were watching Trump double down. They were watching him dismiss affordability. They were watching the polls get worse every single day. Brian Kilmeade, co-host of Fox and Friends, went on air and essentially contradicted the president to his face. He said Trump should adjust his message. He said calling everything a hoax is a problem. He said Trump needs to clarify that he understands prices are high, and that's real, but that Democrats are lying about the cause and the solution.
The only thing I think that he could subtly change is when he says all this is a hoax. It makes some people on first blush says the president's not acknowledging that prices are higher. But what he is acknowledging is what he's doing about it. But he thinks the whole outrage that Democrats says the president's causing this is the hoax part of it. And I think he should just could make that clearer, because it allows a talking point on the other side to do what Joe Biden did and tell everyone how Bidenomics was great and told all his faculty to go out there and sell a incorrect story. What I think the president could also do is explain what inflation is. It was at 9%. Right. Now it's at 2%. But you don't chip away at the 9% unless you can go to deflation.
This is the meltdown. Not a dramatic explosion, but a slow collapse where Trump's own network allies are forced to publicly suggest that the president is a terrible communicator, that he's bad at his own job, that he's sabotaging the party. Meanwhile, Trump himself got even worse. When Edward Lawrence from Fox Business asked him about affordability concerns, Trump literally attacked him on camera. During the cabinet meeting, Trump said Americans are getting fake news from guys like you on affordability. He said affordability is a fabrication initiated by Democrats. And then there's what happened on December 3rd. Trump, apparently trying to do damage control, or maybe just unable to stop himself, doubled down again. He went to an event where he said, the word affordability is a Democrat hoax. They are the ones who have driven prices up. He said it with absolute certainty, with the kind of confidence that comes from a man who has never been questioned successfully by the people around him.
This whole thing is, they use the word affordability. It's a Democrat hoax. They're the ones that drove the prices up. And all they do is say, affordability, and you're supposed to say, oh, that means they had low prices. No, we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years, but let's say that's history. I don't believe that. Biden had, because of his stupid ways and his between his energy policies and his spending policies. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now our prices are coming down. And
now, here's where the Republican panic becomes existential, because they understand something that Trump might not. They understand that you can't win an election by telling voters their problems don't exist. You can tell voters that their problems are the other guy's fault. You can tell them it's a Democratic hoax in the media, but you can't tell them that being unable to afford groceries is fake. The polling confirms this. A new poll shows that 56% of Americans list affordability as a top priority. Among Trump's own voters, the numbers are increasingly moving against him. His approval on the economy is cratering. His disapproval on handling the cost of living is at 56%. Republican strategist Barrett Marson put it plainly. Republicans have long had the advantage on dealing with the economy, but if it remains in the doldrums and prices remain high, it's harder to find a good job. They will blame the party in power, and that's Republicans. This is the trap. Trump inherited inflation from Biden. That's real. But instead of acknowledging the challenge and laying out a plan to solve it, Trump keeps insisting the problem isn't real. And every time he says that, he's handing the issue to Democrats on a silver platter. The RNC, the Republican National Committee, issued talking points after the November losses that said the elections were not a referendum on President Trump, Republicans in Congress, or the MAGA agenda. But they're lying. It was absolutely a referendum on those things, and they lost. Mark Meadows, Trump's first-term chief of staff, tried to reassure people by saying the economy would take off and that would fix the midterms. He said, what you are going to see are interest rates come down, the economy continuing to go forward. We'll see it again, and it will make a difference in the midterms in 2028. But even as Meadows was saying this, he knew. He knew Trump wasn't going to stop. He knew Trump wasn't going to message this correctly. He knew Trump was going to keep calling affordability a hoax until the whole party drowned in the wreckage. This is not about Trump's lack of empathy or his narcissism or his inability to accept reality. It's about a political movement that has become completely dependent on a leader who is fundamentally incapable of doing the one thing that might save it, telling the truth about a problem and promising to fix it. His own party is begging him. His own network is contradicting him. His own strategists are panicking, and he doesn't care because Trump's entire worldview is built on the idea that he is never wrong. He is always the best. Everything is always perfect under his leadership. The midterms in 2026 are going to be brutal for Republicans, not because of some grand conspiracy, but because the party in power has chosen to deny the most important problem voters are facing. And the leader of that party has decided that his pride matters more than the party's survival.